2006, Tesco Direct was launched. Tesco Direct was a massive milestone because that was a transition from a retail which was virtual, which was totally virtual, because Tesco.com pre-2006 was purely online. After 2006, Tesco.com became a full-blown multi-channel retailer because we had the real business, the main business connected to the actual e-commerce and offerings. We had kiosks in store. You had the ability to order from a number of channels, from e-commerce to bricks and mortar to phone to catalogs to kiosks. All of these channels were available for you back in 2006. And that was a massive milestone because they were the first to create this. And the processes that had to be created, the organization that had to be changed. If you imagine, let's take click and collect as an example. If I go to, to my browser and I make an order, and then I go to the store and collect, who should get commission? You have to give them both. If you don't give them both, they're not going to work. You can't give the incentive to one of the two teams because you want them to work together. So lots of people here ask me, how do you make O2O happen? Problem here is they think O2O is an integration exercise. O2O means online, offline, so I'm going to take the systems of online, take the systems of offline, make them talk to each other, and I'm done. Wrong. You begin with aligning the organization. Make sure the organization understands why you're doing this. And the price ultimately is for the customer. So two things happened in that year. We had to introduce a mechanism to manage product information in a big way. When you walk into a store, the number of attributes you need to have on a product is limited. You only need to have the brand description, price, and location in terms of stock, and that's it. So you can get away with 5, 6 attributes. Online, how many attributes do you need? 50, 100, 500? Huge. Why do you need so many attributes? Well, let's take grocery. So you have the base products, details. You have information about nutritious information, allergy information, health information, diet information, legal information. And before you know it, you're dealing with literally hundreds of attributes. So who's going to create this? The brands, the suppliers wouldn't do that. The retailers can't do that. So we needed to find a mechanism to deal with this. And that's one of the innovation examples I'm going to give shortly to describe how we went about solving this problem. The second problem we had was in promotions. Promotions sometimes in Asia is a dirty word because it's associated with discounts. While the promotion we're talking about here is how do you intelligently bundle products in order to create a lifestyle offerings that can entice customers. Big difference. This is when kiosks were introduced in the store. And kiosks, something I haven't seen in China, but again, this is something that can basically act as a bridge between digital channels and physical channels. And the results were, the earliest proper multi-channel offering back in 2006. And a lot of the objectives of businesses today, when they talk about multi-channel, omni-channel, were achieved back then. IGHS, the International Grocery Home Shopping, this is the taking the Tesco.com system from the UK, in the UK, and then rolling it out to 10 countries, 11 countries, from Czech Republic and Poland and Slovakia, Malaysia and Thailand. And the challenge here is it all had to be done in the usual Tesco way, very short period and without massive investment. And the way we went about it is to create a framework to centrally manage the rollout and then applying localization in the countries as and when needed. So, and the last example is what's happening today. Tesco, as of 2 months ago, became the second largest retailer in the world after Walmart. Used to be the third after Carrefour, but overtaken Carrefour. Now, if you imagine a small business reinventing itself completely into a new model, that's a big challenge. But when you imagine the second largest retailer in the world doing this, then you can just imagine the size of that challenge. So that's what Tesco are doing now. And what they've started to do is basically anything that touches the customer will be in one end, and you'll have one team responsible for that. Anything in the back office will be dealt by another team. And then they're basically trying to create ways to bring them together. One of these initiatives is what's known as the price promise, which was rolled out late last year. Price promise works like this. You walk into a Tesco store, you buy 50 items. When you walk out, on your receipt, you'll have one of two messages. It would either say, based on what you bought today, we saved you £10 compared to our competitor. Or it would say, sorry, we couldn't save you money this time, but here's a voucher for £10 you can use in your next purchase. So to make this happen, basically we had to have visibility of competitive pricing and have that kind of correlation between what price the competitors are doing and then comparing it to what Tesco, and then to create it. These were some examples to talk about what happened over an 18 years journey. I would like to talk to you about what was happening behind the scenes. How did we make this, if you like, happen? What is needed from a multi-channel perspective? These are the challenges that you face in a multi-channel world. First is everything is changing, and it's changing all the time. Why is that? Because, remember, the first thing I talked about when I described multi-channel was the customer journey. Customers, you can be sure, they're changing all the time. Steve Jobs once said, you can't depend on the customer to give you innovation because the customers change. But by the time you've implemented it, they would have changed, and moved somewhere else. So you need to have that kind of ability to track the change and act quickly on it. Secondly, business is becoming too complex now. You're not transacting one business model. So, for example, gone the days that you can basically have just a B2C. Now you have B2C, B2B2C, marketplace, affiliates, white label, huge, a lot of options. And if you add to it franchising and concession internationalization, the picture looks complex. So you're dealing with many complex business models. Shortage of skills. This is not just China, shortage of skills universally. In the UK, we have shortage of skills. China, obviously, bigger problem. So the need to address these challenges, you need something which is easy to use, doesn't require a PhD to run the system, something which is infinitely flexible, free form to capture the information it needs, an ability to enable business users to capture, harness the knowledge and to drive the system. And that's what we've done in terms of building the product that I talked about, Sonetto. Conscious of the fact that we need to deal with all of these challenges, what we've created, if you like, breaks the norm in terms of how typically you create software, you create products. The intention is to basically sit in the middle between the consumers and the customers of multi-channel, and then dealing with all the channels and all the data sources. Three aspects of what was created to deal with the challenges I talked about. The first one is what we call schema-less, i.e. you do not have a schema. Schema is the definition of data, definition of information. This basically means you need to have the ability not to have dependency on one type of information or one definition of data. That basically means you have such an abstract way of dealing with the world. That was very difficult, but that's what we needed to do in order to meet these challenges. Secondly, we needed to have a mechanism to allow the business users to basically use a solution to take their knowledge and capture it. And then once that knowledge is captured, the system would then automate it. So these were the three principles upon which we created the product. Here is an example to make it less abstract. Let's say I'm a category manager. I'm selling TVs. So I receive data sheets from my suppliers to give me information about the TV products I'm selling. So the system works by creating business rules. And a business rule is basically you take an example of a product. You either create content, like creating an attribute, or you link content by linking one product to another when you want to merchandise or cross-sell, or you categorize products. If you look at this workflow, in the first step, I create a rule that says, if you find widescreen in the name of the product, then create an attribute with a widescreen equals yes. So I'm just creating some structured data in the first example. The second example says, I already have a rule that says, if you find a widescreen equals yes attribute, then add this product to the category home cinema. So you can see by fixing one problem, which is lack of structure, I have achieved two things. I created the structure and categorization at the same time. The third stage says, if you have a product in the category home cinema, add a promotion, and the promotion is create a link save promotion type with a free stand. So now I'm linking the products in one category to other products. And then the fourth one will say, which is the merchandising, if the category is home cinema and I have enough stock, then, and the status is clearance, then create a special offer attribute on the product. And the last one will say, I will publish if the cost per click, which is what the users will click on the search engine, is less than certain amount, then push it to certain channels. What you are looking at in a nutshell is the ability to clean, categorize, merchandise, publish all automatically by capturing business knowledge in the system and then allow the system basically to automate this knowledge. The future, where we see this is going, is we believe in few years, not that long, retailers would own nothing on the website other than the logos. Everything will come from a service provider because it's getting too much. You know, the complexities that I talked about in terms of the business models inhibits them to basically succeed on all these fronts. This is the picture of what we are moving towards, which is ability to create these business rules that I just talked about on all angles of trading. It happens automatically. Right now, that picture that I showed you exists in one application. You have to go to the application, use it, manage it, and then you deal with certain type of products. While in this new world, we are taking the intelligence outside big monolithic applications and providing it as a network of connected services that would react based on various conditions. Example, as the weather changes, you start to promote different type of products. Or if enough customers are using search, looking for certain type of products and they can't find it, but then they proceed to, to buy other products, that search that they looked for will be now used automatically to describe that product. Ability to manage your products, promotions, and merchandising and placement automatically by looking at stock. So in other words, not only it happens automatically, but it happens across all channels.